But one of the things that I did was after buying vehicles for two teenage or now an adult 21-year-old, then I went and bought myself a car. And I found myself a beautiful Ford Taurus SHO. First edition, 1989. It had 100,000 miles on it. It looked like it had maybe 50,000 miles on it. It's a wonderful car. And I bought it as my daily driver. And so I drive that thing daily now. And it is such a ball to drive because it's got that wonderful, powerful motor and that very sleeper looking old Taurus body.
When you said that, I got to tell you, when you said you're buying this Taurus, and you seem very excited about it, and I never heard of an SHO. Okay, and all I know about the Taurus is that they just look incredibly boring. Probably one of the most boring cars that exist.
Yeah,
not ugly like the Aztec. Like the Pontiac Aztec was an ugly car.
And
the Taurus is.
Welcome to the Outliers Inn, produced by the Operational Excellence Society and sponsored by Zonatech Consulting Group International, with your hosts, Joseph Paris and David Schneider.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Outliers Inn. I'm your host, or one of your hosts, Joe Paris, better known to the internet as JP, and my cohort and trusty Mule. How you doing, Mule?
Mule, right here, doing well.
All right.
Recovered from all my calamities that kept me away from the inn for a while, but happy to be back.
You've had some adventures recently. I mean, You're mentioning things that came in threes, and I saw, what was it, about 6 weeks ago, that what you see in the news is real.
Yeah.
So why don't you share a little bit of that?
So I, traveling in Northern California in Sacramento, taking care of a client, and on the way back to the airport, stopped in at a restaurant in a nice part of town to have a quick bite to eat. Went in 55 minutes later, 55 minutes later, came back out, and the passenger window of the car was busted out, and my travel backpack was gone, which had the computer, cameras, notes, every connector and every travel gadget that I've collected over years of travel that continued to travel with me. I mean, I'm impressed that they got it out of the car. Damn thing weighs close to 40 pounds. So, but that disappeared. And, that was one of the adventures of reporting that and dealing with the insurance companies and all the rest of that stuff. American Express, excellent. They took care of me on the broken glass. And the car rental company was really cool about that too. They went, oh yeah, that's pretty normal for us now. Sacramento, Northern California. And that was that adventure. And then, certain ages, I got vertigo one day, and, it came from, my doctor said it's little crystals that form in your inner ear in the canal. And you got up to go to the restroom, and the little crystal kept bouncing around, and I couldn't catch my balance. So say I had to crawl to the bathroom and then crawl back to bed. And then the next morning it was like the room wouldn't stop spinning. I went through this maneuver. My wife said, a friend of mine went through this. I know what to do, and walked me through this maneuver, and it cleared the vertigo. But I had to lay down and lay in different positions for like almost a minute. Don't move. Okay. Then turn in this position. Your neck's bending around. You feel like you're in an exorcism for a little bit. And then, then it cleared up. And to the doctor I went, and that's what the doctor went, oh yeah, but you're old. Stuff grows in you. So I'm glad it wasn't like one of those, I've had friends who've have it happen with kidney stones, gallstones, it's just another stone that grows inside of us. And so that was another adventure. was
Well,
that fun.
I went golfing with my oldest son and my father once, and my father insisted on hitting off the gold tees. And my youngest son said, "No, you can't spell gold without old."
Yeah.
brutal.
Yep.
So it's been kind of interesting here. I have this little poodle, adorable little thing. When I come home from a trip, it shows much more enthusiasm than anybody else upon my breach of the front door.
Mm-hmm.
But when she was a little puppy, we bought her this stuffed animal. Okay, it's a simple stuffed animal. It's a square pillow looking thing. It looks like it's a sheep. It's supposed to be a sheep, but it's a square pillow with a couple little legs and a head and like little floppy ears and a couple of little eyeballs that are made out of plastic. Anyway, instead of doing what dogs normally do, especially this being a girl dog, this one humps it. Okay, and it started humping it, and it just started like tearing the shit out of it. And we call it buddy. All right. Now the thing is, she's gone through several of these things all the same way. They all meet their demise in the same way. So believe it or not, I have safety stock of these buddies at the house. And she's been on her period, and we gave her one like a week ago, and she tore the crap out of it. I mean, it's like just freaking all over, little stuffed guts all over the place. And so today she's in my office and she's going after a cabinet, like my cabinets where all my books and stuff are. And I'm like, what the heck is she, maybe she found a mouse or something. And then she zeroes in on one cabinet. And in that cabinet, I've got 3 other buddies. Okay, all in their little plastic wrap, all completely unmolested.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now she's just
knows where they are.
She knows where they are. Now she's just camping out in front of it. Okay, and coming down and growling and barking, and she wants another one. She hasn't the stuffing out of the old one yet, and she wants this other one. So, honest to God, to watch her.
That's kind of it's kind of reminded me of a Frank Zappa line: "Poodle bites, poodle chooses." Poodle bites, poodle chooses.
It's crazy. So
yeah.
the theme of today's show is Oktoberfest, and I know that it might be a little early for you over there in the States.
Well, I didn't decant yet.
Okay.
So I came prepared. So I was going to just go ahead and give some sound effect, decant.
All right.
Do
So we got some legal beverages
stuff
going here.
Yeah. Now I'm using for ceremony a BMW motorcycle rally mug, because
I saw that.
I was at a rally with my wife and my very good friend of mine just this past week in West Virginia, and had a great time. We rode motorcycles up there, stayed in a cabin, rode motorcycles up there, and then rode motorcycles back. It was a glorious trip.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures. It looked like a lot of fun.
It was.
So why don't we call Stefan into the meeting here? He's been sitting at the bar. We've been ignoring him, bullshitting our.
Okay.
I think it's time to drag him. So
welcome, Stefan.
Thank you. I was laughing at the story of the dog because this is so funny.
Honest to God, to watch it. I mean, I got videos of it. I mean, it's a female dog, but it goes to town on this thing. It's like, are you kidding me?
You can make some money on the social network nowadays with short video. And you can buy more pillows.
Yeah, maybe what I'll have to do is get a video of her going to town on it. And splice it into the beginning of the video.
What will be interesting is to bring your dog to the shop when you are buying those, pillows, because then they will see, the reaction of how the dog is behaving.
Well, she knows that they come via Amazon.
She's barking at the delivery man.
Yeah. So the first time we bought one, it was actually at a store. When we first picked it up, My wife, we imported it from Poland or smuggled it across the border from Poland because it didn't have a little, puppy passport or anything. And she was kind of young when we took her, younger than the Germans would like. But to keep her nice and calm on the ride home, we just bought her this, this stuffed animal, and that's it. And she's got other stuffed animals. She's got other toys, but man, this is it.
Just that specific one.
That specific one. Yeah.
Do you have an example that you can show us?
You know what? I was going to just grab one
because I want to see this thing as he's stepping away. I just kept, it keeps running through my head, this Frank Zappa song, because there's another part of it where he's talking about those of us who happen to wear Python boots. And come here, Fluffy, Fluffy, and the dog comes, woof, woof, woof. And it's then later on that the crux of the biscuit is the apostrophe. The poodle is talking. So these are all different lines in the same Frank Zappa album. And
maybe we'll have to borrow the track and have it play softly in the background.
Yes. Yeah, that and Dynamo Hum.
Yeah, right. Hey, so Stefan, how are you doing? What's going on?
I am working a lot, so not much is going on except work, which is not as funny as the dog story, as you can imagine. Otherwise, yeah, doing a lot of things and doing some sport, cycling and running on the background, but then uneventful training. The only event that small event is I go cycling in a forest when there is a sign of the entrance that you are only allowed to come with a car if you have a permit. But then every time I'm in that forest, it's like I am on the motorway. So I wonder, where do you get those permits? And most likely none of them got permits. So, I have almost to apologize to be cycling in a path when, you are supposed to be cycling and there's supposed to be no cars, but you have to give way to cars, to tractors, to people with trailers, which are probably dumping stuff in the forest, taking woods from the forest, whatever you can do in the forest. Then I'm just always worried a bit that one day I may just find two people with a carpet, being trashed, sort of wondering what's inside the carpet, of course, but trying to avoid that. I'm not going into the night.
Well, if it's tied up on the ends and bulging in the middle like a Tootsie Roll, you don't want to open it.
Yeah, exactly. So, just trying to not to look too much what's there in the back of their boot or their trailer, just to stay away from problems, So, but I still wonder, this is all law is enforced in those parts of the world. Obviously, enforcing law in the forest is complicated, but still, this is not an easy one. Huh?
No.
So have you enjoyed any Oktoberfest there in your neck of the woods? They have even Oktoberfest down there.
We don't, I think, to be honest. I think it didn't cross the border. I am so sorry about that. This is sad. I haven't seen any trace of Oktoberfest. And then, naively, I was thinking Oktoberfest was in October. So this is, I am even, I'm not aware of what's happening if it's middle of September for the Oktoberfest.
It actually, I think, starts September 16th and goes on to like the first weekend in October. And I believe that the Germans, I think the Germans called it Oktoberfest just so that to confuse the tourists. And so they can enjoy it themselves before anybody else comes from the outside in.
That's very smart. I can see that.
Yeah.
It's the inside joke.
Yeah. So now Stein is right across the river from Bad Säckingen.
Säckingen,
yeah. And don't you hear the Oktoberfest and the Oompa bands from across the river?
No, and I was in Bad Säckingen last week, and there was nothing. This is nothing. So I think this is mainly München area or whatever you call that, or maybe more Frankfurt, but it didn't reach the south. It's maybe more localized in Germany.
Well, it's a Bavarian thing mostly, but then of course it ekes out into the rest of Germany because nobody else wants to be left out. But it was funny when we were visiting with one another down there that we stayed in on the German side of the bridge, and because there's nothing on the Swiss side of the bridge. I mean, a couple little pizza places, and of course the pizza is twice as expensive over there in Switzerland.
5 times.
Yeah.
5x.
So
Yeah,
that's why there's no shops. This is the people. If you have to walk 300 meters or 300 yards to find a 5 times cheaper pizza, for the same quality, where you go. There's
yeah.
not
It's really crazy. It reminded me of Lake Tahoe and at the South Shore, on the South Shore of Lake Tahoe. There's part that's in Nevada, and there's part that's in California. Nevada is very incredibly low tax. In fact, I think there's no income tax in Nevada. And the opposite is true, of course, in California. And you didn't have to have a line to show you where the border was. Because in the California side, there was zero investment and everything was falling apart. And on the Nevada side, everything was being built up and everything was all nice and spanky new. And it reminded me of the border there between Switzerland and Germany and Bad Sachsen again, and that on one side you have it all built up, and Bad Sachsen is not a very big town, so it's not all built up, but it's more built up than Stein is.
Yeah, it's reminding me, if you go in the border between Luxembourg and Belgium, the border is the street, and on one side of the street there is only petrol station. And when I was young, there was on the other side there was one petrol station against something like 20. And basically the price were different because the one on the other side was sort of taxed, and the one on the opposite side were untaxed. So there was a significant difference. And I wonder for ages, that petrol station survived. But then, by the time they closed, of course, one day, it was unsustainable business. I was still wondering who is, not bothering to cross the street to pay something like $20 less or $30 less to put you in the full tank into your car. I was wondering, but apparently there are some people at one point, but then not enough.
I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, right? So exactly. You've been busy in your new role, eh?
Yeah. This is the business is moving away, not totally, but using operational excellence in reality rather than advising people doing operational excellence. That's I can coach myself on coaching people, which is a bit different. Then of course is less. It's less difficult to engage with stakeholder because now I am the stakeholder. If you see what I mean, that makes my life much easier from a perspective. So that's shifting from that, and then also budget decision making, all those things, which makes life much easier. As to decide, then you don't have to influence; you have to decide, which is much better in that sense. But then still, it was good to try to influence people on the OPEX side. I haven't forgot my roots.
Well, I mean, you're in the driver's seat at least at one facility now, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm freaking jammed until the end of the year. It's like all the way through Thanksgiving and already into December. I got so many things to do. Just was it last week? It was last week. Last week. Holy cow, time flies. It was last week. I'm minding my own business over there in the States, and I get this inquiry from a gigantic multinational beverage company. I won't say their name, but anyway, they're wondering if I could come over there like tomorrow, all right, to deliver a workshop on design thinking for operational excellence. And I don't want to say I didn't want to do it, but man, I'm so jammed. Like this is the only week I was going to actually be grounded and have a kind of mellow week. And that's not happening anymore because, I had to figure out, we had to get all the paperwork because it's a big multinational. So we had to get the paperwork all sorted out and the NDAs all sorted out and the transportation, like how am I going to get to this place? It's in Ireland. I was hoping that it was going to be nice weather because it's at all these corporate gigs are at a really swanky resort. They never have them like in the Bronx. Not that there's anything wrong with the Bronx in case I ever get broken down there. I want you to know Bronx people are lovely people. Anyway, they always have them in swanky places. and I was hoping that the weather was going to be nice, but alas, it's not going to be. But what the heck? I'll end up going to Ireland and enjoying some new scenery that I never. I've only been to Ireland once, Dublin and Belfast. So I'll fly into Dublin this time around and end up in a place called Killarney. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but I've never heard of it. It's about an hour north of Cork, which is sort of like to the west of Ireland. But yeah, I thought I was going to have a break, and nope.
No, well, it's funny. For business, it's I'm taking a little bit of hiatus. There's a bunch of stuff I'm busy with that's internal to like the design work that I do and some of the R&D work that I do that I am busy with. But it's also been a time where I've been busy purchasing vehicles for daughters and helping daughters learn how to maintain their vehicles. And so that's been a lot of fun. But one of the things that I did was after buying vehicles for two teenage or now an adult 21-year-old, then I went and bought myself a car, and I found myself a beautiful Ford Taurus SHO, first edition, 1989. It had 100,000 miles on it. It looked like it had maybe 50,000 miles on it. It's a wonderful car. And I bought it as my daily driver. And so I drive that thing daily now. And it is such a ball to drive because it's got that wonderful, powerful motor and that very sleeper looking old Taurus body.
When you said that, I got to tell you, when you said you're buying this Taurus, and you seem very excited about it. And I never heard of an SHO. Okay. And all I know about the Taurus is that they just look incredibly boring. Probably one of the most boring cars that exist.
Yeah.
Not ugly like the Aztec. Like the Pontiac Aztec was an ugly, ugly car.
And the point of view that you're taking the point of view that you're taking of it is post, after it came out. If you think about when the Taurus came out in the mid 80s, Ford, it was a bet the company project that Ford did. And there were certain design key elements of that design that you see in every car today. And so the Taurus, to everybody, is a boring car because its 5 key design elements got copied by everybody else in the automotive world. Okay, so one of the key elements were the hidden rain wells. The Taurus was the first one to do it. So that hidden rain well, and those in the Taurus, in the first gen Taurus, worked like champs. You can't find a car that doesn't have it today, but that was a key design element. Nobody else had done it before. So it was the SHO. What made it special was not something that Ford made. It was something that Yamaha made, and that was the engine. So the engine in the SHO, the block is by Ford, and the starter is by Ford, and the water pump is by Ford, and the air conditioner is by Ford. But everything else in there is by Yamaha. And Yamaha designed it. And when you open the hood and you look at the intake, it's mechanical sex when you look at it. Those engineers made those intakes look absolutely gorgeous.
Okay, so you said that, and all I could imagine is you humping the engine.
No, I'm not like your dog. I'm not a poodle.
Mechanical sex. There is Dave, bad Dave, down Dave. So speaking of cars, Chaz, the guy that puts together this opportunity for us to have this monthly chat, all technology wise, we're coming from an Oktoberfest in Binghamton. And I had a couple of Mosses, and my Don the beer man, who's not here today, had a couple of Mosses, and Chaz had one. Okay. And he only had one for like the 3.5 hours we were there. So it's not like, he was like stupid or anything.
Right.
But he had a 20-year-old Toyota Camry. And because of the sun and the road going from 2 lanes to 1, anyway, he trashed the bottom of his front end, and it was going to cost $6,000 to fix. Okay, now it's a 20-year-old Camry. It didn't have 100,000 miles on it because he doesn't drive it that much, but it had the worst paint job in the world because it actually looks like it burned up in re-entry. Okay, like the top coat, the clear coat, peeled off.
Clear coat, yeah.
Yeah, and it just looks terrible. Anyway, the car is dead. And he was, of course, needing another car. And he was looking at Camrys, like, 2 or 3 years old that had 60,000 miles on it, and they're selling for, $21,000. But a brand spanking new one is costing $28,000.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes you wonder, what the story is about these used cars. Now, usually I would advise people never to buy a new car. But in this particular case, you're getting a car with 0 miles, brand spanking new, versus one that's got 60,000 miles on it. It's like 4 years old. When did the paradigm shift that buying a new car makes more sense than buying a used car?
Here's some math behind that and some business behind it. The used cars, who owns the used car? The dealer owns the used car. And they have they've got working capital that they're paying interest on for their used car. They also have to use that same pool of capital on their new cars. After the new car has been on the lot for a certain amount of time, the car changes ownership to the dealer, from the manufacturer to the dealer. And depending on what the dealer's deal is with the manufacturer, the car could be on the lot 30 days, 60 days for the dealer to sell before it goes on the dealer's working capital. And all those pools of working capital are limited. And so because of the mismatch a year ago between new cars and used cars, and the lack of any new cars got bid up. And when a new car would come in, they would pay top dollar for the darn used car, knowing that they could sell it until at such time they could never not sell it. People stopped buying it because now the new cars started to pour into the lots. The dealers have to take the new cars that they ordered. And if that new car is going to roll off of the manufacturer and onto them, and they don't have the capital, they'll drop the price of that new car to move it, because they can't afford to move it onto their own, because they can't get the used car moved either.
Well, shouldn't they be able to move the used car by dropping the price? I mean, isn't that market? They
do, but there's a certain amount of it. When I bought the Beetle for my daughter Heather, we were paying $250 more than they bought it when they bought it at auction. They had put almost $1,000 worth of cleanup and work and inspection and time into it. And so the dealer, this was a Volkswagen dealer, they sold that car at a nominal loss to get it off their
books.
They needed to move it. And so it's, that's some of what's going on. If you want to really, when you think about the marketplace is still very localized at the dealer level. When you have a manufacturer and dealer, and only certain dealers are allowed territory to be able to sell that make or model, then they are the ones that own that inventory, they're having to control it and their inventory turnover, because they're doing these deals on these cars. You look at what happens on auction side in the US with how these dealers take cars to auction and how cars weren't selling at auction. And the dealers were capitulating after the car washed through auction twice with a no sell. And so they were having to take losses on those cars versus what they had paid to be able to get the car off their capital.
Crazy stuff. So you
It
hear that,
is.
Don? It might be a
Oh,
good
yeah.
time to buy a car here, a new one anyway.
Well, that's, I've been looking at that just recently, and it's, you look at it, I seen a 2019 Toyota Camry, and it was, what was it priced at? I think it was $17,000, 17, 18,000, something like that. And I'm thinking, well, that's not a bad price. And you go take a look at it, and it's got, what was it, 130 or 140,000 miles on the thing. And I'm like, I ain't paying that much money for that. You're better off buying a new one.
Yeah,
You know?
that was Chuck's reasoning. I mean, because he had $21,000 for a 60,000 mile car, or $28,000 for a brand spanking new one with the brand spanking new warranty and everything else. It's just
Right.
it's an upside down world, man. What can I
Yeah,
say?
and most of the warranties, they're anywhere from 5 to 10 years. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of a
and it's
no-brainer.
Toyota, right?
Yeah,
Yes, Toyota.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
bulletproof. So
Yeah.
even that car, even those Toyotas, if they were maintained with 150,000 miles on them, they've got another 150 left in them. It's, I could, and the cost of maintenance of a Toyota isn't like the cost of maintenance on a BMW.
Right.
But,
No.
Right.
my wife's BMW that sits out on the curb, the 325, that's an 86 325. Yeah, 1986. And she's got, we think it's 400,000 miles on it. We think, because there was about 90,000 miles that the odometer didn't work. So, that there are cars that are fairly bulletproof and will last a long time. Toyotas have a reputation for that. And the ones that do die are usually dead because they just weren't maintained.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have a Volkswagen that's been working for us quite well. Our second one. This is our, so we've been here 13 years. We've been through, or we're into our second car. Both of them were used. The first one didn't behave nearly as well as the second one, and I think it's because it was a police cruiser before it was ours. And
What models? What models?
They're both Passats, station wagons, but the cop car had all the really cool suspension and stuff like that. I mean, it handled very, very well. But I think there was some front end damage, because we had to replace the drive shaft on the front passenger side a couple of times, and so I think it was just a little misaligned. Who's to know? But anyway, they've been behaving for us quite well.
Yep.
What about you, Stefan? What do you cruise around in?
I am still on my Ford Cougar, which is known as what's the name? Is Escape in the US?
Yeah,
I think it's the same, if I'm correct.
Ford Escape. Did you say Cougar?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
they changed name.
Yeah, we used to have Mercury Cougars, I think it was. It wasn't Ford Cougars. They're Mercuries, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
and it's
That's right.
an Escape.
It has 260,000 kilometers. So it makes, I don't know, let's say something like 200,000 miles ish.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less ish. Still working. I just had to change a bit the clutch recently. I'm, it's looked like it's a good model. It's staying alive and still working fine. So, but I looked to buy a new car because I don't want to be stranded on the side of the road. But then realized that the car business have changed a lot over the last, 5-6 years. Because in the past, you went to a dealership, then you say, okay, then almost, people had to pay what the dealership wanted you to pay to some extent. But nowadays you have internet, and then the dealership are disappearing like there's no tomorrow because it's expensive to have a showroom with cars, and then this takes space, this takes, as Dave was mentioning, this costs a fortune to have a lot of cars being parked there, which is all assets that are not bringing back money. So ultimately nowadays you go on the internet and there are people that are you selling cars that they can find all over the place, and they even deliver the car to you, the front of your house, and then if it's brand new, there is no issue with the warranty or whatever. Don't they? And then they make the money by making sure you take the mortgage, but not the mortgage yet. You borrow the money with them, and then they recover some money that way. So selling cars is no commodity. If you see almost like that, they're not making money on selling cars. They're just selling cars by the internet and making money by asking you to borrow the money from them, of course, with a fee.
Yep. It's a mechanism that's somewhat what Carvana is here in the US is they make a great deal of money off of arranging the loans, and they don't take the risk in the loans, but they make a great deal of money arranging the loans for the banks that are creating bonds out of these auto loans.
Yeah, I actually
financial
suggested that
structure.
to Chaz Carvana, and he said something about some stories about people not having clean titles and a bunch of other stuff.
No, that's been quite a bit in the news here with that. It's something that I find fascinating, at least in this area where I live in Northern Virginia, about 25 miles west of the swamp, is the number of independent car dealers there are. There is complete industrial park areas of warehouses that it's a big warehouse building subdivided into 8 or 9 different pieces, and they're all car dealers, different dealers specializing in different kinds of cars, different models, different makes, and just going. That was how we shopped for the kids' cars. Was we just drove through those areas. Well, and Heather pointed out one, I like that, but it wasn't a good car. And once I figured out what she liked, then I knew where to go or what to look for. But
Yeah.
that's where we found both of the girls' cars. But I swear to you, if I drew a 10-mile circle around me, I've got like 300 of these little dealerships, and they
Now,
all make money.
Are they dealing in new cars, used cars,
No,
both?
used cars, 100% used cars.
Yeah. Okay.
And they are trading. And, in the heart of that, in that 10-mile circle, is going to be one of the major car auctions. And so these guys are all strategically located, around that auction site. And what's interesting is you look at Carvana's corporately tied to one of the large auction chains, used car auction chains.
Yeah.
So there's independent auctions, and then there's these large auction chains. And if the banks, when they're liquidating, a lot of them, they just send it to the auction chains, and the auctions are flooded with repos. So
Right, so
the value, the resale value at wholesale is dropping, and has been for the past couple of months.
Right. But yet the used car prices are still high.
High at the retail level.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
because the dealers haven't capitulated, or they're choosing when they're going to capitulate on what car.
Right. Right. Because to me, if you owe $20,000, you owe $20,000, right? It doesn't matter if it's a new one coming on, onto your books, or $20,000 for a used car, which was already on your books. $20,000 is $20,000.
But
Glad that's on his end.
It's good. Now we can carry on with our GP.
yeah.
He can hear us, but he cannot say a word.
Wow, Joe actually got muted. That's a first.
I know.
I heard that.
We know that you did.
I heard that.
Yeah, but you didn't see it.
All right. So are you going to have an
Ability.
Oktoberfest there, Don?
Yes.
Other than the one you and I went to?
Yes, the 21st.
Good.
So
Excellent.
I gotta get some brats and I gotta order up pretzels.
Are you going to get those pre-cooked ones that I got?
No.
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 Okay, so I'll tell you where I get really disappointed. We went to an Oktoberfest at the German club in Binghamton, New York, a couple of weeks ago. Not a bad. I mean, the beer was from Munich. Okay, they had the Hofbrau beer. Okay, so it was a good assortment of beers. But their food is lacking. You know, the brats.
Oh, yeah.
The brats aren't the same as they have here in Germany. They're just not the same. But what really is kind of disappointing is the rolls. Now, a roll in Germany has got this crispy crust. You know what I mean? You could hear it crinkle. And in the States, all the bread seems mushy, and it's just not the same. That's my
Well,
two
that's
cents.
baking technique.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
Maybe
a baking technique. Yeah,
I think that the crispy buns don't last as long on a shelf as the soft ones do.
that would be part of it. And you know, the crispy buns are made at a different production level than the other ones. You know, how many units per hour are coming out of the oven?
Yeah.
So the crispy ones go in an oven and then they sit. The US ones go in one end and they're on a conveyor. Oh yeah, we're half baked.
You're half baked, all right. That's it.
Yeah, those rolls, they were too big. It was all bread.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I hate
there's way too much.
Yeah.
That's
the
I
kraut was
always
okay.
am ripping out the guts of a lot of these because they're so doughy.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching a video about the delicatessens in New York City, and it showed this Italian guy making a submarine sandwich. All right, and he actually sliced it lengthwise and then scooped out the guts of the excess bread, if you will. So it was actually hollow, and I kind of like that. And I actually do it myself usually anyway, because it actually seems to hold the stuffings better.
Yeah. So one of my favorite cheesesteak places in Philadelphia, you could order an extra meat. And if you ordered an extra meat and cheese and you ordered as let me have a regular extra. That was the way you ordered it. The bread would get hollowed out, and that allowed them to put twice as much meat and cheese into this damn thing.
Right.
And people would ask me, how do you get that? It's a secret. It's a secret.
Yeah. So do you get the whiz when you're in Philly? The cheese
No,
whiz?
no, I don't get cheese whiz. It's
Okay.
provolone that gets put on it,
Good
before it gets put onto the
Good man.
Yeah.
Good man. So
Yeah,
now, Don, you realize your Oktoberfest is going to be after Oktoberfest has ended, correct?
Your point.
Well, just that was it.
Exactly.
That was it.
No
That's
point.
all,
It was
that's all about
pointless.
it's 5 o'clock someplace, you know.
That's it.
That's right.
It's Oktoberfest someplace, right?
Well, it's
So-
October still.
Yeah. Okay.
It
That's
is.
right.
It
That's
is.
right.
Well,
So-
it doesn't matter. It's October. It's Oktoberfest as far as we're concerned. So we got two beers in the fermenter already.
All right, so let's go around the horn here. What one exciting thing is going to happen between now and Thanksgiving for you guys?
Oh God, China.
You going to go to China?
I gotta go to China. Yeah. I'm kind of it's kind of weird. I'm a little bit apprehensive on it, but you know, I mean, I gotta go over. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I got a machine I gotta qualify out and make sure it's all right and inspect it and get some training on it and find out, you know, how this thing ticks. And then I gotta stop in at 2 other vendors that are out there and I gotta talk with them. So I mean, it's the flight time and stuff. It's like 28 hours.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
one
know.
way. Yeah, and then
That's
coming
rough.
back. Well, if I catch these flights that I want, coming back is only 23 hours, which I can survive that. The 28, once it gets up to 28 hours and plus, oh boy, that's brutal. That's
Yeah,
brutal.
that's tough stuff. So what about Mexico in January? You still thinking about that?
Well, for a fact, I got to call the customer. I got to see if they want me down or when they want to do it, because I know they got to move one machine. So, they can't do it. There's no way. They wanted me to give them instructions one time. I says, no, you got to be out of your mind. So I says, yeah, so that's, I got to call him up this week and find out what's going on, because I want to get everything scheduled, but you know how it goes. It just never falls into place where you want it.
Yeah.
So,
well, just keep me in mind there. Mexico, January.
Oh yeah.
Palm trees and beachside. Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as
I'll hold your toolkit.
as long as it's not like it was the last time that I went down there. I went down there the last time, and it was cold. It was really cold. I mean, it wasn't freezing and snow and stuff like that, but it was you're talking 50s, 60s.
Jacket. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jacket weather.
Yeah. And I asked the guy down there, I asked the plant manager, I says, what's with the weather here? He goes, oh, it's a cold front. I'm like, come on, So
Getting ripped off. So
and they
what
got
about you,
January
David?
gets cold. Well, a couple of things. One is I'll go on a cross-country trip to Hunter, Kansas. And when I get to Hunter, Kansas, I will slay many pheasant with my over and under 12 gauge shotgun.
Is that a
that's
brown
right.
hen?
You're gonna go out and you're gonna kill little animals and birds.
I am going to kill. Yes, I'm going to kill. I will get in my big black van and I will burn petrochemicals and create carbon. And I will go to Kansas and visit sisters and uncles and friends along the way, and and kill many little birds.
Are you going to be using steel shot or lead shot?
Well, when I goose hunt, it's always steel shot. But pheasant, it's lead shot, because I clean the pheasant immediately the same day. So when
you're going to leave the rest of that shot laying all over the environment to poison the soil and everything now.
He's already killing critters. He's burning fossil
That's the way that these landowners are happy with. The landowners are very happy with that lead going into their ground. I don't know why, but they're fine with it. So
what about you, Stefan? What one thing you got going on? Well, you don't know when Thanksgiving is. So say between now and the end of November.
I know when it's Thanksgiving, so that's no worries. But it's after. I will go to DC and Philadelphia and Baltimore at one point.
Oh wow!
So, I know it may not be exciting for people living in the US to go to DC, but for me it is. So this is one of the things that we'll be looking forward to. So hopefully weather will not be too bad, but we'll see. And
is that for work? Because I thought there was like a travel verboten.
No, it's for my own work.
Good.
Way cool. Well, Stefan, remember, where I'm sitting is in Manassas, which is about 23 miles west of DC.
Oh, that's so close.
Yeah, so we should communicate.
Yeah, we should go for a beer.
Beers, yes. Many beers.
Did you also say Philadelphia?
Yeah, I will try to see if it's possible to go from DC to Philadelphia. Just we never know.
Well, it's possible to get there. You might not get out.
Maybe I just stay in the train and just watch and then come back.
Whatever you do, don't go there during a football game. So
I will check if it's safe before.
So for me, I'm going to spend a couple of weeks in Florida the end of this month. The second half of October, I'll spend in Florida doing a conference and doing a training, but it'll be in Florida.
Yeah.
Palm trees, things like that.
IEEE?
No, it's just an OPEX, Operational Excellence and Transformation Conference. And then we're doing some design thinking training right afterwards. But it's going to be Florida. So what the heck?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
Orlando. I'll stop in and say hi to Brian for you.
Yeah, really. Yeah, do that.
I think, JP, you just have to send us a postcard.
Well, I think that we've run the course on this. My beer
Yeah.
is out, so it's time for me to get another.
Sadly, mine too.
Oh man, so we timed
I had
that
to switch
perfectly.
to water, man. I was
Oh,
getting thirsty.
That's
You guys-
tragic.
You guys do this too early, so I can't drink. So
Ah.
That's it. I know you better than that, Don. But
Yeah.
it's for the audience. I know it's for the audience.
yeah.
So.
I
All
got
right,
class
I guess
tonight,
there's only
so.
one thing left.
Well, just don't drive like my brother, please. Don't
Don't do it. Don't
drive
do
like
it.
my brother. Just don't.
And
do
don't. What the hell is that? There.
it. Is the
Man,
dog
What the
humping?
hell is that?
No, that was my phone going off. It never goes off. And
Ah!
anyway, and don't drive like my brother, but especially don't drive like Chaz. Have a great night, guys.
Take
Yeah,
care.
You too. Take care.
Ciao.
Hey, Stefan.
You have been listening to another episode of the Outliers Inn with your hosts, Joseph Paris and David Schneider. This program is produced by the Operational Excellence Society and sponsored by Zonatech Consulting Group International.